Good morning, and thank you for joining us today on our webinar titled Getting Ready for Corporation Tax and Digitalization Beyond Bookkeeping. My name is Rayhan Aleem. I'm the managing partner and founder of Afropro Partners. We're an accounting firm based in Dubai, and we're also Xero Platinum Partners. We're very pleased to be joined by Ayman, who was a former head of EMEA at Xero and is now with Scope Middle East, and he's also based in Dubai. So, Ayman, do you want to just tell us more about what you're doing with Scope and your role?
Yeah, totally. Thanks, Rayhan. It's an absolute pleasure being here to start with. And so give you a little bit about me. So I've been working in this tech space for over 15 years now, most of that being in the B2B cloud software area. I used to be in the property management software space on the enterprise side. More recently, it's been in the SME space. So I was at Xero for 5 years in a number of different roles, the most recent being the head of the EMEA hub, which you mentioned. And that had me responsible for growing Xero's footprint in emerging markets throughout the EMEA region. Now, as of around 3 months ago, I joined the Scope team and started our new venture in Dubai, which is Scope Solutions Middle East, helping accounting firms and SMEs throughout the region become more efficient and profitable by embracing cloud software solutions for their accounting and business operations. Now, our initial focus is in the UAE and Saudi Arabian markets, but we do also serve the wider GCC.
Thanks for that introduction. And I think this is very relevant to what we're going to talk about today. Just a reminder, we will be having Q&A at the end. So please add them to the comment section and we'll be recording this as well. So if you've missed any of it, we'll also share it on YouTube and we'll distribute it out on LinkedIn as well. So today I'm not going to go into too much detail on the corporation tax rules. There's been lots of content out there since it was released. There's been lots of webinars, lots of information in the newspaper and in websites as well. This webinar is very much about the practicalities. I'm an accountant. How does it affect me? What do I need to do to prepare from a practical point of view? And so what we do need to do and understand is at the moment, there are 26 pieces of legislation out there on corporation tax, and it's all available on the FTA website. And I'm not saying you have to read every single one, but what I am saying is that there's a lot of information out there. So we do need to start thinking about preparing. In terms of corporation tax, 5 years ago, we had VAT and now we have corporation tax. So it's like a step up in terms of our processes and how we manage compliance. Now with corporation tax, as soon as you register a license or you've got a license, you are required to complete tax returns, whether you're making profit or not. You have to do it regardless. Obviously with VAT, it's only if you registered, and you don't even register if you reach your mandatory threshold of 375,000 dirhams or the voluntary threshold of 187,000 dirhams of revenue. The effective date for corporation tax is 1st of June 2023. What that means is if your year end finished on 2nd of June, for example, then from the 3rd of June, your books are now effective for corporation tax. Tax returns are due within 9 months after the end of the financial year. Now, you may think, I've got 9 months, I can relax, I don't need to worry about it. But believe me, there's a lot of planning and process changing that needs to be done way before the end of your financial year. And that's something that needs to be all key stakeholders within your organization would need to be aligned with what you do. Basic things like related party transactions and transfer pricing that could affect your company in UAE and maybe a company in, say, the UK or Singapore, where you need to be aligned in some of your transfer pricing transactions. And then more practical things that you need to take into consideration where systems are important. Records must be kept for 7 years. Your financial statements also need to be kept for 7 years. You need to have the details of your wages and salaries. So things like in the UAE, more specifically, it's your WPS, it's your contracts. Fixed assets also need to be recorded. A lot of companies don't have a fixed asset module within their accounting system. And so making sure you're able to record that data and have supporting information is important. And then also, as per the rules of corporation tax, there's a requirement to have supporting documentation verifying your taxable income. And that goes down to once you get an audit, you need to be able to have the supporting documentation that verifies how you got to your profit of how you calculate your tax. And then a little bit more in terms of practicalities. Now that you're an accountant or you run a business, corporation tax has been thrown at you. What do? We may not always have the luxury to have an additional person to support us with corporation tax compliance. So you as an accountant or you as a business owner, it's down to you to ensure that you're complying. And so this then goes down to looking at having a revisit of your processes. How can I be more efficient in what I do as a business? How can I make sure that I'm using the right tools to ensure that if it takes me 1 hour to do a process, maybe it can be done in 15 minutes. And Ayman will touch more upon that later on in this webinar. The corporation tax is building on top of the VAT regime. So what that means is when you are VAT registered, you need to make sure that you're sending out tax invoices. You need to make sure that you're recording your bills correctly. You have the supporting documentation for your bills as well. With corporation tax, you're taking that now a step up. It's not just your invoices and bills, but it's also all your other accounting transactions and the supporting documents behind it as well. And if you don't have if you don't record your transactions accurately, that then leads to inaccurate reporting, which then leads on to penalties. You have to start at the bottom to ensure that once you get to your reporting stage, you're compliant. And then additional information that needs to be recorded as per corporation tax will also need to be taken into consideration. For example, your entertainment spend. Are you recording separately what's business related and what's client entertainment and what's employee related entertainment? Are you recording your related party transactions in the right way as well, where you can identify that once you get to your preparation of your corporation tax return? And then finally, when you're preparing your corporation tax, as per the FTA rules, your starting point is your audited accounts or your accounts prepared as per IFRS. Now, that's what you would prepare in your in your accounting software. But then once you start preparing your corporation tax return, you then need to start making adjustments and additions to your financial statements to ensure that you then come up with the most accurate report for corporation tax purposes. And again, some of these transactions are offline and some of them are online, and making sure you have the correct processes in place to ensure that you're recording it and you keep a record of what you've done to then, if you do get audited 2-3 years down the line, you have all the supporting documentation at hand is very important. Historically, a lot of accountants, they use Excel sheets and they save supporting documentation on emails and random drives here and there. That's not going to be a process that is going to be good enough. You want to make sure that you have a good systems in place to ensure that a lot of it is automated where possible. We're now going to go more into the role of technology. So, Ayman, I'll let you take the lead on this.
Thanks, Rayhan. Yeah, and you touched on some really important points there on the kind of the legislative side of this whole thing. But yeah, going over to the tech side a bit more. Now, there's no doubt that tech is going to play a key role when it comes to making sure businesses are keeping accurate records of their accounts. And that was one of the key points that you highlighted. Now, and it all starts with how you do your bookkeeping. It used to be really commonplace for businesses to do their bookkeeping on paper ledgers. Fortunately, it's far less common now. We do still see many small businesses using spreadsheets to do their bookkeeping, and even many accounting firms for their clients. And if you have very few transactions to account for, perhaps this is still okay. We know these days that best bookkeeping solutions, however, are the cloud accounting solutions, such as the likes of Xero, QuickBooks Online, or Zoho. Now, they not only have all the necessary kind of checks and balances in place to help businesses keep accurate records, they also have many additional features that give businesses and their advisors tools and data to be able to draw meaningful insights from the finances. So another great thing about cloud software is that it's always kept up to date. So you don't have to worry about costly upgrades down the road. And this is particularly important when it comes to the latest developments to help you remain compliant in the market. Things such as VAT reporting and corporation tax now. And then we've got e-invoicing coming down the line in the not too distant future, right over here in the UAE. Now, we've also seen the influx of AI tools hitting the market, and they've already started to make their way into the cloud accounting ecosystem. It's important to keep up to date with the latest tech in order to maintain or gain that competitive advantage. So let's talk a little bit more about the benefits that having a cloud accounting solution in place is for an accounting practice. So one of the first things that we see from firms that have fully embraced cloud accounting solutions, Xero, QuickBooks, or Zoho, is helping with the data entry side of things. So within the ecosystems of each of those accounting solutions, there is almost always going to be some kind of data capture solution. So this uses OCR technology to read your bills and receipts, copy them into the system, create the transactions for you, make sure that a copy of the receipt or the bill is also attached to it so that you can now get rid of that paper copy and you don't have to worry about dealing with this big mass of bags and boxes at year end full of paper that you have to work through it and type up. And one of the questions that I often asked about the accuracy of this OCR technology is, how good is it? Is it 100%? And no, it's not 100%, but it's really high in terms of the accuracy. And humans are not 100% either. So, we're not comparing apples to apples here. There is no solution that's going to give you 100% accuracy. But at the end of the day, it significantly increases the accuracy of your data and speeds it up sufficiently so that you can not have to only resort to hiring more when you're coming to hit bottlenecks within your business. If you're struggling to find enough staff and you're not able to outsource it at a cost that is good for you, or you're not always happy with the quality, one thing that you should be looking at is becoming more efficient as a practice. And speeding up a really laborious task such as data entry is an area that it makes total sense to do. Any job that can be automated ought to be. And we're still going to need people to do lots of different types of things within the business. But if a machine can do it and the AI is getting really clever and it's only going to get better, it doesn't make sense to keep doing these jobs manually. Now, the other thing that having better access to your clients' accounts throughout the year gives you is the opportunity to open up advisory service lines. So the fact that you're going to have these accounting entries going in throughout the year because they're snapping them or they're forwarding them onto their software means that you can now start to offer advice as a practice to your clients. And this opens up new revenue lines for you. And we've seen this happen in other markets. So it's happened in the UK, in Australia, New Zealand, the US, Canada, and South Africa, lots of other markets that we've seen from my time at Xero. There's been a huge uptake, new advisory services from clients because they are now able to have more of a proactive relationship with their accountant. Rayhan, have you got any examples where like moving someone across from some kind of old school system, whether it's Excel or some desktop software across to Xero, which I know you guys use in your practice, and how that's helped you and the client?
Yeah, we've got lots of examples of that. I think the classic one is Tally. We've moved quite a lot of clients from Tally to Xero. And there's a lot of resistance on Tally, obviously, because the accountants like the keyboard shortcuts, right? And so they feel as if that's the only thing that's the thing that makes their lives a lot easier. But then what I used to do is I used to say to them, let's have a race, right? Let me run my P&L and you run your P&L. Let's see how long it takes. And hands down, when we use Xero, so when I was able to generate P&L for them in literally a matter of seconds, and they will still type out how to prepare that report, it just showed them how much time they're actually saving so they can go away from the keyboard shortcuts and find automation within the software as well. And then obviously with OCR, you just literally upload an invoice through HubDoc. We use HubDoc, and you can drag and drop. You can send it via email, you can take a picture, and literally it pre-populates 80% of what you need. And as soon as you click a button, it literally goes into Xero straight away. So your AP is always up to date, and you can do your reconciliation on the fly without having to enter the bill and then reconcile it straight thereon. So we found a lot of time savings in terms of the way we do the accounts for our clients as well.
Yeah, thanks. And there's many examples like I've spoken to countless practices. And I have to say, it is a lot more common to use OCR technology outside of the UAE at the moment, which is a real shame because it's just such a huge opportunity and there's so many time savings that could be had there. Let's talk a little bit about the benefits that some of your small business clients might face. And I've got small business down here, but this could equally apply to a medium-sized business as well. So now lots of businesses, in terms of their finances, are almost like looking at it as a bit of a black box. They don't know how healthy their business is throughout the year necessarily, particularly if they're saving everything up, all those bags and boxes that we're so used to. If they're saving that up until year end, how do they know if they've got a cash flow issue? How do they know what to expect in terms of bills? It can be a real source for lots of stress because business owners typically don't get into business to do the accounting. That's not why they're in it. They're in it because they love selling coffee or they're really into clothes, or they love having their online store, or whatever it is. The accounting is like a side thing. It's a necessary thing for them to do to remain compliant and also to make sure that they can pay the bills and keep a healthy profit, right? So it can be the source of a lot of stress, and it often eats into people's evenings and weekends. And what we've seen in other markets where you've seen lots of businesses embrace cloud technology a bit more and actually having the client doing their own bookkeeping often, that we've seen big increases in terms of the amount of time that they can actually spend away from doing the accounts. They end up having more time on their hands in the evenings and weekends. They're able to have better quality time because they're not worried about, oh crap, I've got this big bill coming up, or I just have no idea about how my business is going to do and if we can survive till next year. And you always get these big event. I say always. You could out of the blue get something like another COVID, right, which comes out and affected so many businesses, and those that were the most resilient were those that were on top of their accounts. So not having to find out after year end how well you're doing is such a big thing for small businesses, and having the cloud accounting software there gives you the tools to be able to do that really easily. It gives you a much healthier relationship with your finances as a business. And we've also seen statistics that indicate that your debtor days, so that the amount of time it takes to get paid on your invoices, can be significantly reduced when you're using cloud accounting software coupled with the pay now button on your invoices. It can really help with cash flow, getting those debtor days down significantly. And I'm sure you've seen this as well, Rayhan, with clients of yours.
Yeah, I mean, we integrate Stripe with Xero, and we also introduce that to our clients as well. And so literally the two things you can do with that. One is you can set up recurring payments. So if you have retainers and you want to get paid on time without having to chase, then it basically removes the requirement for you to chase them so long as they set up auto pay. And also when you're sending out invoices, literally you just click a button and you get the payment and then that's it. But also more importantly in the UAE, we're going down more through the digitalization route. There's calls for the cash to be replaced by electronic means. And having, like you said, having the right cloud apps available would help you enable you to get to that place. And even now, when you're buying stuff online and they get delivered to your home, they come with a card reader now. The concept of cash on delivery is starting to be obsolete. And yes, you can offer a card reader, but you need to make sure that from a process point of view, it's linking into the right apps to then reconcile your cash to revenue reconciliation, which then saves you time from reconciling it in the first place. And that's where some of the apps that you would talk about would come into play.
Totally. And that leads us on quite nicely. So we talked about the importance in the last few slides of having the cloud accounting software there and the role that will play when it comes to being compliant, but also being more efficient as a practice and having a better relationship with your finances as a business. But there are a lot more benefits that can be had when you start digitalizing beyond just the bookkeeping side of things. Now, the great thing about platforms such as Xero and QuickBooks and Zoho is that they have these rich ecosystem of apps that surround them. Now, with that richness comes lots of choice, right? But we're just going to go through some of the different scenarios for how moving beyond just digitalizing your bookkeeping can help you as a practice, whether it's an accounting practice or a lawyer's practice or whatever it might be. And then we'll look at a few other different industries. So let's start off with how this can, having accounting software can help with practice efficiency. If you can go to the next one, please, for me, Ray.
Yeah.
So firstly, we already talked about the data capture side of things, so I'm not going to bring that into it, but that is a huge element of a huge source of efficiencies for a practice. You've then got things such as proposals. So being able to create online digital proposals can really help you as a business. It can often it saves us having a black box of not knowing how the prices that you've come up with have stacked up, and businesses struggle with this. It also saves you having to have this kind of email ping pong going backwards and forwards with clients, having it online in a way that they can actually accept. So go through the proposal, see line by line what's in the proposal, and have the means to accept it online and digitally sign it is a huge benefit. Not only that, you can quote for the work through there and have it integrated with your accounting software, which is brilliant. So it all comes through. It then raises You can then create, once they accept it, you can then have your invoice automatically raised as well. So again, saving another step that you might have to manually do. You've then got practice management solutions, and we can also introduce a KYC element into this. So in the UAE, we always have to do the KYC work and AML. Now, most black practices will take a manual approach to this, which is absolutely fine. There are some software tools out there that help specifically with it, but at the very least, you ought to be recording the steps down that make up your KYC process and holding the documents against there. So there are solutions out there, document management solutions and practice management solutions, that enable you to essentially have templates for your KYC processes and then attach the relevant evidences that you need to show and to be able to demonstrate that you've had a really thorough process there. Now, job management is the key thing here when it comes to helping a practice become more efficient. In the UAE, as an example, you've currently had quarterly VAT returns to manage for your clients. It's been relatively straightforward to manage. You've now got corporation tax coming in, adding in multiple year ends throughout the year because there's no one year end. Every business is different. So you're going to have a heap more deadlines. And not only that, because lots of businesses are going to have to conform to this now, you'll likely get more clients that are going to need these services. So your team has the potential to become overwhelmed, and you have the potential to be overwhelmed with the amount of work that you're going to have to manage and keep on top of. So having a system in place that can list out all your jobs that you need doing and set up recurring ones and assign them to the right people and have the documents uploaded against them so that you can very easily find everything that you need related to a job in one place is really key to be able to be more efficient, not have to worry about things, and also remain compliant and be able to find the supporting evidence whenever you need it. Right. So that's another side of it. You've also then got managing deadlines and timesheet entry. So lots of practices still use timesheets, which is absolutely fine. And you might use it for time-based billing. You might use it just to monitor things like recoverability and utilization. So having the software there enables you to do that really easily. You can run reports. You can see where are there areas for potential improvement within the business. You can then push out your client bidding. So if you're doing time-based billing, you can actually raise your bills from the software and have it integrated with Xero in some cases and with the other accounting solutions. And finally, there's email automation. So you may, for example, have a really nice email journey that you want to kick off once a customer accepts a proposal. And there are tools out there that can help automate all of that. So doesn't rely on someone manually doing it. By embracing these techs, you can really make the practice a lot more efficient without having to hire anyone more. Now, hiring is inevitable. We're not trying to get away from that, but maximizing your team at the moment is so important, particularly in a competitive talent market. Let's move on to the next one, Rayhan, which is talking about retail. I'm sure, particularly in the UAE, I'm sure almost every practice will have some retail clients. Now, when we're thinking about retail, right, there's going to be two main areas that come into mind. You're going to need a POS system of some kind. And these days you get these nice little tablets. So it could be an iPad, it could be it could just be a laptop, it could be a mobile phone. Sometimes I've seen kind of restaurants and cafes walking around with little mobile phones and taking orders on them, which is brilliant. So there is tech to help with that. Now, within electronic POS software, you can manage all your products and services. You can summarize your daily sales and integrate them with your accounting software. So again, this kind of saves that manual step of having to download all your transactions at the end of the day, maybe even write them up, put them in Excel, and then upload them somehow into your accounting software or type them up, heaven forbid. And not only that, it also allows you to consolidate some of these data, summarize it up so that you're not pushing through every single packet of chewing gum and packet of crisps or whatever it might be going into your accounting software. Where appropriate, you can summarize lots of these transactions and push them through as literally daily sales as one figure if it's appropriate to do so. So that not only stops you outgrowing your accounting software, but it just makes things a lot more manageable. And if you ever need the detail, it's always there in the POS system software as well. So you get the best of both worlds. Then we've got inventory management as the other area that comes in for retail. So let's say you've got a shoe retailer. They're going to have their you're going to need a POS system there, but then they want that to talk to an inventory management system that tells them that they're running out of size 7 Reeboks, right? Or size 11 Nike Air Jordans, whatever it might be. Having a system in place that can notify you that these things are running out and that you need to replace them, but also that it talks to your accounting software is great. And you can use different types of ways of managing stock, whether it's last in, first out, and first in, first out. Now, and you can also, if you deal with perishables, there's also ways about keeping expiry dates in place and tracking all of them and knowing when you need to replace those kind of things. So the levels of complexity when it comes to retail businesses often leads them actually to going towards bigger ERP solutions. But half the time they don't need that. Actually, you can have a really good combination of an SME cloud accounting solution with one of the inventory apps in the ecosystem, and it's more than sufficient. And it will not only be more than sufficient, it will have a really nice experience. You've got the best of breed in both worlds, and you save yourself a ton of money because ERP solutions can be very expensive for a small or medium-sized business. Let's go to the next one, which is property management. This is like my old world before I was even at Xero. So property management solutions can be really helpful to both landlords and property investors, both on the residential and the commercial side. So the kind of things that you can expect to help you with is managing your leases, whether you do your acquisitions and disposals. It can notify you when rent reviews are due, for example. You can also then create the invoices, receive payments. There's also almost always a facilities management element. So let's say you've got a block of flats and a light bulb goes or whatever it is, or the air conditioning is not working. There's solutions out there that can help you actually raise a ticket for these things and have someone sent across, which works with the properties, and you can define the properties and everything else like that. And then you can send quotes out. We can then raise the invoices all through the same platform. You can then have tenant portals as well, so that let's say your tenants, if it is residential, can actually go through and maybe use local concierge services or pay their invoices, pay their rent, etc. online and that kind of thing. And all of this again integrates with your accounting software so that those invoices, those financial transactions, whether they're invoices or receipts or bills or whatever they might be, are fully synchronized with your accounting software. Again, removing that manual element that can just cause errors. It also slows you down significantly. Now, on the e-commerce side of things, this will be like online retailers. So you could set up your online presence with a platform such as Shopify or WooCommerce or Amazon, the really common ones. On there, you'll maintain your product and services catalog. You can set up payment gateways. And again, the key element here is having that integrated with your accounting software so you can push through your sales into there. Rayhan, have you got many kind of online retailers that are clients of yours that kind of benefit from these?
Yes, because obviously we specialize in Xero. Most of our clients, they use Shopify as their e-commerce store. But the good thing about e-commerce Shopify is you can also use it for online store as well. So you have a Shopify POS that a lot of the clients use as well.
Yeah.
And we've had clients that have used WooCommerce and even Magento, but from a data point of view, from an ease of use point of view, Shopify, we recommend that the most whenever we have a client that comes in and wants to set up an e-commerce store.
Right, yeah. And you talk, yeah, sorry. I was going to say, like you mentioned there a few different kind of solutions, and that's the key thing here is that there are lots of solutions out there, and every business is different. And if you have something already embedded in your business, there is a very good chance that it can also integrate with your accounting software. And if you're not doing that at the moment, then you're missing a real trick, because not having that means that you're likely having to manually intervene at some point, and that's just time that you don't need. And it also increases the potential for there to be errors and the loss of data integrity there.
Yeah. The only other thing I'd like to add is there's a lot of our clients who use Shopify for inventory. And as you touched upon earlier, for retail, you have an inventory management solution that kind of sits in the hub of your accounting software, POS system, Shopify as well. And from my experience and from what I've seen from clients, we do always recommend that they do use an inventory system, because Shopify cannot do what a fully fledged inventory system can do. Like what you said, your Reebok size 7s are running out. Can I get a notification? And so there is a lot of scope within e-commerce that you can really improve processes, and you can have group of apps, which is just as good, if not better, than an ERP, a fully fledged ERP system. And you can save a lot of money by having those one or two different apps connected to each other as well.
100%. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Let's move on to professional services. Now, this could be, it's a very broad topic, obviously, broad industry, but it could be an events agency, let's say, or an interior designer or architect or a software services company, whatever kind of professional service you offer. There's always some solutions out there that can help. And the best place to start is often being something that manages the different jobs. So whether it's like project management software or job management software, this is where you raise your quotes, which are then accepted and they turn into invoices and you can receive payment from them. You can track your time against jobs, manage your resources, report on job performance as well. And there's also often industry specific software to cater for your specific needs. So if you are like, let's say, an interior designer, or there's an app I know in the Xero ecosystem that specifically caters to that niche, and it gives you like a product catalog that you can choose from and things like that, which is tailored for interior designers. So there's heaps and there's so many different tools out there, some of them specific to industries, but some of them that can cater to just professional services more widely. And again, that integrates with your accounting software, pushing through all those financial, the accounting elements. So whether it's the transactions, getting them through in there and helping retain that flow of data between the systems to reduce that double entry. Now, going beyond that, so many other industries that we just haven't really spoken about and we can't really get into. But so whether it's hospitality or pharmaceuticals or distribution or anything else that's not written on here, it's highly likely that within the ecosystems of these accounting solutions, that there is some software out there that will help you and your business operate more efficiently. And that's the area of the business that you probably get into business for. So you'll immediately feel the benefits of that. But not only that, your accountant and your business advisor will be happy as well, because they're getting the benefit of the financial transactions going through into the accounting software. And then they're able to give you the advice that you need to help you continue to grow that business, if that's what you want to do, which most people want to do, right? Scope, we act essentially as like a cloud tech partner to accounting firms and SMEs. We started out in Malta. We're over here in the Middle East now. So what we try to do is work with, let's say, an accounting firm, take a look at their client base at the moment, see where there's potential to move some clients from spreadsheets or from from desktop software over to the cloud. Once we've got the accounting software in place, we then will help them with their manage kind of their practice and get their practice more efficient, as well as help their clients navigate this world of thousands of apps that frankly no one can get their heads around without advice from an expert that's taken the time to get into it, because there's thousands out there and there's no way that an accounting firm can resource it unless they're going to have a huge tech team. But it's almost always better to stick to your bread and butter and reach out to experts that can keep on top of the space. So that's what we do. We'll partner with them. We've helped them navigate this space of all these apps and find solutions for their clients that help them go beyond the bookkeeping and help that relationship on both sides so that the client becomes more sticky. They get much better experience with their account and they're much closer to the finances and they are happier with how smoothly their business operations are running. So we've come up with a bit of an offer for anyone that's attended the webinar, which is, or anyone that's registered if you're watching this later on in the recording. So if you want to work with us, we're offering 3 months free accounting software. So whether that's Xero or Zoho or QuickBooks Online, and we'll also give a free consultation as part of that. So with no obligation, you can try out one of these cloud solutions. We'll help you migrate your clients across. And this can be for as many clients as you want. If you're an accounting firm or if you're a small business, it can be for your books. Now, if you've already got a solution in place, so let's say you're already working with Rayhan and he's got you on Xero, fantastic. Then I would say take us up on the free consultation. We can see what other software is out there that can help you in your business operations. And we'll try to find an equivalent offer that we can give you on some of that other software as well. So don't worry if you've already got the accounting software there, we can do something. If you want to take advantage of the offer, there's the website link there at the bottom. So scopesolutions.me/contact. So if you just fill out the contact form and if you just quote Alpha Pro in the description, so tell us what you want to do and how you want to work with us and what you would like us to talk about. But if you just quote Alpha Pro as well, then we'll make sure we can take you up on the offer. And finally, Just one last point on this is that the offer does end by October 31st this year. So if you reach out to us before then, you can take advantage of this. And that's it for me. Thanks, Ray.
Thank you very much, Ayman, for your presentation. Very insightful. I think sometimes it's a bit of a refresh. A lot of people are using apps as well, right? So it helps rethink your process and understand that there are probably other apps out there that you can make processes more efficient. And the migration from one app to the other app isn't always a nightmare. Some of these migrations can be automated now. Yeah. We've got two questions, so I'll read through them. First one is from a person called Isra. They're asking, in terms of digitization, are there any software preferences for medium companies to achieve and ensure effectiveness? So medium companies, I'm probably making more than $5 or $10 million in revenue. What would you say your kind of experiences with those types of companies?
Yeah, look, as you get bigger, naturally your needs become more complex. Now the specific needs in terms of software is going to depend on the industry that they're in ultimately. Almost always they should be looking at digitalizing their HR solutions, getting systems in place there, having a solid cloud accounting solution for sure. I would say don't always assume that you need an ERP solution just because you've got that big. Talk to your accountant and see if they can give advice. Talk to us as well. We can also help you figure out whether there is a more cost-effective and often more user-friendly solution out there that you prefer the working goals. So it's going to depend, Isra. I think get the core foundations of the business in place, so the HR, the payroll, the accounting software. And then there often is almost always something to help you manage the work. So a project management solution or a work management solution of some kind, a job management solution, is applicable to almost every type of business. So that's where I would start. And then depending on the nature of the medium-sized business, if you're a manufacturer, for example, you'll definitely want an inventory system of some kind. So it all depends on the nature of the business, I would say.
Yeah, I'd like to add that, like you said, a lot of people like to, by default, go with an ERP system because an ERP promises that it will do everything for you, right? But there's lots of risks with an ERP system. You may have an ERP system that does everything for you, HR, finance, inventory, but the functionality is very light. It could be you have an ERP system and the implementation is done so bad that you have to go back to square one again. From my experience with cloud apps, the implementation side doesn't have to be so painful as a fully fledged ERP system. So if you're taking on, say, Oracle or an SAP one, it could be a 1 year before you can fully go live on your accounting system. Whereas with cloud-based apps, you can do it within a matter of weeks, maybe weeks and months. And so it's very important for you to understand what it is that you need and make sure that you get the right advice and you speak to industry experts. The other thing I'd say is, like you said, you don't necessarily, just because you're a big company doesn't mean that you can't use Xero or Zoho or Quickbooks. It very much depends on what you're doing as a company and what your processes are. For example, if you're a bank, you need an ERP system, right? There's no two ways about it. But if you're a fintech company, for example, and you're looking to provide one product of a bank, a cloud-based accounting system and a suite of apps can work for you. You may have tech that you want to integrate with your accounting system to your platform. A lot of our clients, they're tech companies, and what they like about Xero is that the API functionality is really user-friendly and easy. So when they want to integrate their platform with Xero, they can just literally do it quite easily and quickly because all the documentation is there on the Xero API website. Yeah. I've got another question, Ayman. In regards to best integrated software and corporation tax compliance, which ones do you recommend best? QuickBooks or Odoo?
I would say it's actually far too early to tell. The corporation tax solutions haven't been fully built out just yet. Now, I would say it all depends on the nature of your business, and you want to also consider your accountant. So I would talk to, assuming you're a business and not an accountant here, but if you're in an accounting, you may already have systems in place that you prefer to use. But often when it looks at coming to the bookkeeping alone, that side of things can be very similar. Some people have preferences one over the other. Lots of we've seen over the years that people will tend to figure out quite quickly which software that they like using, or they'll just go with whatever their accountant recommends. But I'd say it's a little bit too early to pin down a specific software that's going to provide the best corporation tax solution just yet. I'd say the most important thing is to make sure you're using something that has potential, something that's modern and up to date, which is why we'd say a cloud accounting solution. We at Scope haven't worked too much with Odoo, so I can't speak for that. But speaking for Xero and QuickBooks and Zoho, like we know that these solutions are really good at the bookkeeping side of things, at the record keeping. So that'll be great from that perspective. I'm sure that all three of them, whether natively or within their ecosystems, will have solutions ready that will keep you and your clients compliant for corporation tax.
Thanks for that. I mean, what I would add is, from my experience, being very impartial, there is Zero, QuickBooks and Zoho, they're very similar in terms of functionality, price points, so obviously our preference is Zero, but being impartial, QuickBooks and Zero almost have the same functionality. So whether you use Zero QuickBooks, you'll have the readiness from that point of view. Again, Odoo, I don't know. We don't really deal with Odoo as well. I guess you just have to speak to a number of implementation software, speak to peers who are using it and see whether they are happy with it and whether they are able to get the reports that they need from it.
Yeah, totally. One thing I'd add as well, Rayhan, is being able to do what you need to remain compliant. I suspect all three of those solutions will have something there that will help you do that. It's what we don't want to do is just do the bare minimum, because you'll be missing a huge opportunity. Solutions like Xero and QuickBooks have by far the largest ecosystems when it comes to applications that connect with them out of the box. So if you want to give your business and all your clients the biggest opportunity to digitalize their whole operation, then actually choosing one of those platforms, I would say, has the biggest potential. Now that Zoho has its own suite of products, which integrate really neatly, that they've created themselves, and they are quite wide reaching as well. So depending on the nature of business, you might be able to solve all your needs within the Zoho suite as well. But Xero has by far the largest ecosystem, followed by QuickBooks of apps that integrate. So looking beyond just being compliant, I would say the bigger picture is that you'll probably almost be compliant. You'll be compliant in any of them, but you have a lot more potential if you look at any of those three solutions.
Thanks for that. One more question. So this is from a dear friend, Firas. Rayhan Aleem, thank you for this interesting information. Is the perfume and cosmetics products exempt from corporation tax, as is somehow considered the field of creativity? Same questions for creative restoration, like Moonrise. I mentioned I'm not going to go too much into corporation tax into this webinar, but what I would say is creative industries are, it's a bit of a difficult kind of question to answer, because the short answer is no, right? If you're setting up a perfume or cosmetic business, or you're creating a restaurant, you are under the regime of corporation tax, which means you're taxable. Your income is subject to corporation tax. I guess devil's in the detail, and it's more about understanding how these two business lines factor with the creative industry to then be able to give you an answer. So we'll take this offline, and we'll have a conversation on this. Ayman, do you want to just talk about kind of, for perfume and cosmetics a product-based business, what would be your app stack for a product-based business?
Yeah, you'd certainly want something to help you on the manufacturing side, right? An inventory solution for sure. So firstly, almost always, you're starting off with a cloud accounting solution. Couple that with an inventory solution. And then if you've got a retail element to the business, that's when you're looking at a POS solution as well, and a payment terminal. So I think that's like the most basic stack that you would want to have in place for that kind of business.
Yep. No, thank you very much. If anyone wants to contact you, what's the best way?
Yeah, so either feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or visit scopesolutions.me/contact. We've got a contact form on there. Or if you want to send me an email, it's Ayman, so AYMAN @scopesolutions.me, and happily take any questions or meet up if you want to.
Thank you very much. If you have any questions for us, feel free to reach out to us again on LinkedIn and on our website, alphapartners.co. Thank you very much for your time. I really enjoyed this webinar with you, Ayman. I've learned a lot. So thank you very much for your time. And yeah, have a good day, guys.
Thank you. Bye, guys.